In this episode, you'll get a breakdown of the quote, integration without isolation is just information. Wow, okay. And why you need solitude to process what you're learning. Welcome to Energy Line for Entrepreneurs, the podcast helping entrepreneurs be free from anxiety, stress, and tension through balancing emotions and consciousness expansion. Here's 3 things that you'll learn today. Number 1, why consuming content without processing it keeps you smart but stuck. Number 2, how isolation creates the space for wisdom to integrate into your cells. And number 3, the practice, strategic withdrawal after major insights or events. All right, let's look at this quote. Integration without isolation is just information. All right, first of all, that is a rhymey one. Boy. And the main words, right? Integration, isolation, and information. So, when you take time to isolate yourself, solitude can be an extraordinary gift. The asterisk, the big kicker here, is that if you waste solitude, then it's wasted time. So, how do you make the most out of isolation? Because technology, social media, there's a lot of great information out there nowadays. We have access to so much. And when you are in isolation, I would recommend that there's a balance of styles of living, meaning, okay, you exercise and you work out and you get fresh air, cool, grounded, foundational, sets that momentum for the day. Then you have some prayer, some devotion, some reflection, some journaling, right? You're putting the good things in your mind. You're letting that stuff marinate and soak into your mind and being. And then you're challenging yourself to express what you've put into your mind after it is soaked in with the journaling, self-reflection, gratitude, whatever. And you piece together your life in a way where when you're by yourself, you do things that leave you feeling amazing. So that could also come in with meditation, with business, with cleaning the house, with digital organization, with creating content, editing, building websites, whatever the skills you may have are. It's about connection. It's about family. It's about joy. It's about being healthy. So ultimately, my point is that isolation gives you a chance to renew to sharpen and polish who you are. Isolation is an opportunity to see where you can change. It gives you a narrow vision around what you're feeling, right? When you're out and about, your sensitivity, you're picking up so much that you're more in the external world, and that's very necessary. Everyone has seasons and phases. But you also have phases where your internal world it's almost like you're in a hermit mode. You just don't feel like it's time to go out and about and do all these things. What happens then is that the solitude, it narrows your sensitivity. Narrowed sensitivity leads to inward revelation if lifestyle is correct and if energy is placed almost on a center. Not forced on a center, but if you feel in between your eyebrows, that's where your third eye really resides. And when you take the time to let that thing awaken by having stillness in your life, you are processing things in your nervous system that need solitude to be processed. Then what happens is when you go back into the external world after renewing your nervous system, your being, your brain, your gut, your mind, your heart, this awareness, it taps into new levels. It's almost like you used to be a 300 horsepower car, and now your capacity, we got the new pistons, board, everything, right? Now you're 450 horsepower. So the voltage which you can let move through you increases, and that only happens through a purification. It's hard sometimes because the narrowing of the sensitivity in solitude it's like the weight is just being directly placed on your spine and you're being invited to get stronger. Now, you can run from that opportunity, but That would be a blindness. That would be ignorance. That would be fear. That would be Satan. If you ignore opportunity to um, change, right? This isn't about self-improvement. I want to nail that home. It's rather about courage. Because everyone, no matter what your skill set is, you're going to suck. You're going to suck at the beginning. And you're going to have that courage to just keep working because you feel something's right. Even if you're not getting results, you feel this is what you're meant to be doing, even when it's just your heart confirming, right? And the material world isn't confirming. But you trust and you walk in alignment, and that faith, that's this integration. See, solitude lets you do all this. And then that information is actually juiced, right? It's kind of like we have so much information nowadays. A lot of people just have a bunch of lemons everywhere, but they haven't actually done the work and juiced any lemons. See, that's the hard part. Getting the lemons isn't the tough part nowadays. It's getting in there and just actually juicing the fruit. So let's hop into point number 1. And that is why consuming content without processing it keeps you smart but stuck. I've noticed this a lot in life. A lot of people, they use knowledge as a protective mechanism, meaning for me, one of the hardest archetypes of individuals to speak with is those whom act as if they know it all, meaning that they'll talk for 10 minutes straight, and then when you go to talk, you get like 1 minute. Now, there's a difference between 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute, right? Like back and forth, equal. Or 2 minutes, 1 minute 30. 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes. Like that's understandable. But if you come across people who just know it all, it's because this is what they've done. It's that trap of consuming information, and then you don't actually change. You just absorb the information, and then you share the information. You talk about the information, but it's like, what are you doing? Because people get overwhelmed because you're just spewing all this information out. And that's part of life, right? You have to be that person to start to see, man, I don't necessarily feel I'm connecting on the truest level when I'm just talking and talking in that way. Like the isolation shows you how to know thyself, but then when you go out back into the world, you have to learn how to even deepen that awareness of who you are. Because life isn't just about forcing or projecting what you see onto others. Life is about meeting others where they're at, somehow creating space for communion, for receptivity, for a conversation, for harmony. And that happens by you kind of not being the head honcho all the time. Now, that doesn't mean you're never the head honcho. That just means sometimes you're really being of service, right? Like the meek and lowly shall inherit the earth. That's what Christ said. That means it's the people who are open, compassionate, caring, willing to pick another up, willing to stop for others, willing to slow down and create space for others, able to feel and be sensitive, considerate, compassionate, aware of others, right? Not just self-centered. So now, yeah, the consuming content without processing it, I know we kind of went off a little bit, but ultimately it just needs to be a balance of you consume with intention, you take notes, you write stuff down, you are digitally organized, and you do everything you can do internally, externally to just let the learning move through you. You don't force it logically. You get it down logically. Then you let the intuition piece the information together. Now, number 2, how isolation creates the space for wisdom to integrate into yourselves. I kind of covered this a little bit, but ultimately on a deeper level, we have a vessel. Christ says that your vessel is your temple, your body, and it's meant to be filled with light. Now, the more darkness you entertain, the darker you will be. And so isolation, what it does, when we talked about the narrowing in the first point, that's really what's happening here. You have a narrowing of your sensitivity, your nervous system, your awareness, because you're getting less stimulation. Now, this is where digital overload and quick dopamine scrolling can really spiritually ruin people because they're in this isolation phase and they've been given time and an opportunity to feel, process, and narrow. And if distracted, if not taking the time to be with thyself, to do the healthy things, meditation, journal, reflection, reading books, etc., walking without stimulation. When you juice your isolation, that creates space because in your vessel, the darkness begins. You don't change darkness to light by staring into the dark. Part of changing darkness to light, number one, is noticing that there is darkness. That's number one. But number two is placing light on the darkness, not entertaining the darkness. So, in other words, you notice it's there. You see the patterns, the loops, the stimulus, the ways that the darkness arises. And in other words, darkness cannot be present without thought, and thought is always made from knowledge, memory, and experience. And knowledge, memory, experience is always composed of identity. So darkness is in direct correlation to I. And that is exactly why Christ said, God and I are one, and yet God is greater than I. Because God is within you, but you can block God off from moving through you. And that means memory, knowledge, experience. So you have to find a way to move through life without being bound by time. And that means that you are timeless, and that means that you are a beacon of light. Now, see, a lot of people think that Christ came and he said, "Oh, I'm Christ, I'm the best, follow me." But the truth of his message was really what he was showing you. And that is what we're talking about here, that you are a beacon of light, that you and God are one, and yet God is greater than I or you. So, hopefully, if you are not just logically trying to understand what has just been said, then if you have ears, your ears will hear. Now, the isolation, that space, when when invested properly, space is born, light enters, darkness exits, that continuously compounds. You share that with the world changes. The world is not as it is, the world is as you are. The only way darkness can ever be evaporated from this realm is by each individual enlightening oneself. It always has been written like that. If you listen, your heart will confirm that these words are the truth. Now, the individual speaking, remember, God and I are one, and yet God is greater than I. It's not anything to do with me. Me equal irrelevant. Message equal true. Reason equal this isn't about me. Okay? Point number 3, the practice. Strategic withdrawal after major insights or events. Yes, because basically your nervous system, your being energetically has a massive influx of stimulus, information, energy, power, and different elements from these major insights or events. Strategic withdrawal allows intention to work and therefore space created. With that space, the processing and understanding of epiphany, stimulus, energy, it accelerates. And therefore, learning is possible. So then your being changes sooner, faster, stronger, better, faster, Mr. West. It's like you don't need to withdraw from everything and everyone. I'm just saying, when powerful things happen in your life, you're going to need space. And space is good. Space is healthy. Space allows for change. The only constant is change. Get with it or get dragged by it. So truly, thank you so much for listening. I am extraordinarily grateful for you from the bottom of my heart. Like the individuals taking the time to listen to these words, to this energy, to this message. You're changing the world. You are changing the world. I love you. I don't know the last time someone's told you that. I don't know how often you hear it, but I'm extraordinarily grateful for you. You shine today. You smile without reason. You carry yourself with this lightness, okay? Chest out, not too proud, but just present, okay? Not cocky, but just clear, calm, and confident. I adore you, genuinely. Let's go. Share it with a friend.